Good morning, students. Welcome back. As your terminal exams are over, in the last class, before your terminal exam, you have studied about law of conservation of mass, law of constant proportions, Dalton's atomic theory, its postulates, limitations, and merits. What is an atom? Symbols of atoms of different elements and Latin names of elements. Today's plans we are going to discuss existence of atom, what is molecule, atomicity and what is ions. How do atoms exist? Noble gases are very stable and chemically unreactive. The atoms of noble gases, helium, neon, argon, etc. exist in free state as single atoms. Whereas atoms of most of the elements are not capable of free existence. They are chemically reactive, and to attain stability they have to acquire the stable electronic arrangement of noble gases. Generally, atoms exist either in the form of molecules or ions. These molecules or ions aggregate in large number to form the matter that we can see, feel or touch. What is a molecule? The smallest particle of an element or compound which is capable of independent existence and shows all the properties of that substance is called a molecule. In general, molecule it is a group of two or more atoms that are chemically bonded. Atoms of the same element or of different elements can join together to form molecules. Molecules can be divided into two categories. The first one is molecules of an element and the second is molecules of a compound. First, we will discuss the molecules of an element. The molecules of an element contain same type of atoms. Many elements such as argon, helium, which are noble gases, they contain single atom and are represented by their symbols. The molecules of most of the non-metals, these are made up of more than one atom. For example, take a molecule of oxygen. It is made up of two atoms, which is denoted by the symbol O2. It contains two atoms of oxygen. If three atoms of oxygen unite into a molecule, we get ozone, which is represented as O3. What is atomicity? The number of atoms of an element which is present in one molecule of an element is called its atomicity. On the basis of atomicity, molecules can be classified as monoatomic, diatomic, triatomic, tetraatomic and polyatomic. What is monoatomic molecules? These consist of only one atom. Examples are helium, neon, argon, xenon. And metals like iron, which is denoted as Fe, aluminum, these are monoatomic. Diatomic molecules, they consist of two atoms. Example, hydrogen, represented as H2. It contains two atoms of hydrogen. O2, oxygen, it contains two atoms of oxygen. N2, it contains two atoms of nitrogen. Similarly, I2, iodine, Br2, bromine, Cl2, chlorine. They exist as gases and they also contains two atoms. Triatomic molecules, they consist of three atoms. Examples are ozone, O3, it contains three atoms of oxygen. Carbon dioxide, which is represented as CO2, it contains one atom of carbon and two atoms of oxygen, so total three atoms. Fourth one is tetraatomic molecules. They consist of four atoms. The example is phosphorus, P4. It contains four phosphorus atoms. Polyatomic molecules. They consist of more than 4 atoms. For example, sulfur. Sulfur exists as S8. It contains 8 atoms. CH4, methane. It is pentaatomic. 1 atom of carbon and 4 atom of hydrogen. So, what is atomicity? It is defined as the number of atoms present in a molecule. In the table, you can see symbols and atomicity of some metals and non-metals. First, on the left hand side, atomicity of some non-metals are given. Argon, helium, neon gas. These are neon gases which is having chemical symbol AR, which is monoatomic. Helium, which is also a noble gas, it has a symbol He and which is also a monoatomic. Oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, chlorine, these are diatomic. Phosphorus, we have discussed that it is tetraatomic, which is represented as P4. Sulfur, it is polyatomic, it is represented as S8. Coming to metals, it exists as atomic crystals and do not form molecules. Sodium, iron, aluminum, copper, all these are monoatomic. Now we will discuss molecules of a compound. A molecule of a compound contains 2 or more atoms of different elements in definite proportion. For example, a molecule of water, H2O, it consists of 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. Similarly, a molecule of glucose, which has a formula 6C6H12O6, which contains 6 atoms of carbon, 12 atoms of hydrogen and 6 atoms of oxygen. In water, the combining elements is H and O. Molecular formula is H2O, which is a triatomic. The next is hydrogen peroxide, which has a molecular formula H2O2. It contains 2 atoms of hydrogen and 2 atoms of oxygen, and this type of molecule is tetraatomic. The next is ammonia. Combining elements here are nitrogen and hydrogen. Molecular formula is NH3 and it is also tetraatomic. It contains 1 atom of nitrogen and 3 atoms of hydrogen. Carbon dioxide, CO2. It is triatomic. It contains 1 atom of carbon and 2 atoms of oxygen. A molecular formula of a compound gives us the number of atoms of each kind present in its one molecule. Let's know what's the difference between atoms and molecule. So atom, it is the smallest particle of an element, whereas molecule, it is the smallest particle of an element or a compound. Atoms does not exist in free state except noble gases. Molecules, they exist in a free state. Coming to the reactivity, except some of the noble gases, other atoms are highly reactive. Molecules are comparatively less reactive. Now we will discuss about ions. When atoms, group of atoms or molecule lose or gain electrons, they become charged. These charged species are known as ions. Atoms in solution generally exist in the form of ions. These can be negatively or positively charged, thus can be categorized into 2 groups. The first one is cations. The positively charged ions are known as cations. These are formed when elements loses 1 electron. Usually metal forms cation. For example, sodium plus Na plus, K plus potassium ion, Ca2 plus calcium ion, Al3 plus aluminum ion. In the slide, you can see a potassium atom loses 1 electron to form K plus potassium ion, which is a cation. Magnesium atom loses 2 electrons to form Mg2 plus magnesium ion, which is also a cation. A cation therefore has less electrons than the normal atoms. Coming to anions. What are anions? These are negatively charged ions. These are formed when elements gain electron. Usually non-metals form anions. For example, Cl minus, chlorine ion, anion, bromine minus, Br minus, Br, bromine anion, O2 minus. In the slide, you can see a chlorine atom gain 1 electron to form chloride ion. An oxygen atom gain 2 electrons to form oxide ions. Anion therefore has more electrons than the normal atom. The next is polyatomic ions. It is a group of atoms that carries a charge which can act as a single entity. It carries generally a fixed charge. You can see in the slide examples of various polyatomic ions. The first one is ammonium, NH4+. It has a group of atoms. It has atoms of nitrogens and hydrogen, and it has a fixed charge +1. The other is hydroxide, OH minus, which is represented as OH minus. Nitrite, NO2 minus. Hydronium ion, H3O plus. Nitrate, NO3 minus. Phosphate ion, PO4 3 minus. Sulfide ion, SO3 2 minus. Carbonate, CO3 2 minus. Sulfate is SO4 2 minus. And cyanide is CN. Cyanide contains atoms of carbon and nitrogen. Sulfate contains atoms of sulfur and oxygen. Carbonate contains atoms of carbon and 3 atoms of oxygen. Sulfide contains atom of sulfur and oxygen. Phosphate contains atoms of phosphorus and oxygen. Nitrate contains atoms of nitrogen and 3 atoms of oxygen. Hydronium ion, it contains atoms of hydrogen and oxygen. Nitrite, it contains atoms of nitrogen and oxygen. Ammonium, it contains atom of nitrogen and hydrogen. Hydroxide, it contains atom of oxygen and hydrogen. In all these examples, we can see that these ions carries a fixed charge. Thank you. In the next class, we will discuss how to write chemical formula. Have a good day.